Welcome to Fine Art Lifestyle, my dear YouTube family. Today, I wanted to slow time just a little and invite romance back into the everyday. Valentine's Day for me is not spectacle. It is texture, softness, and a quiet gesture of beauty. A simple piece of toile, a needle, a thread, and a quiet afternoon. Sometimes that is all it takes to make something meaningful. I chose a rose-toned Toile de Jouy, romantic, nostalgic, and impossibly French, like a love letter written in fabric. I traced a classic heart silhouette, imagining these as heirloom ornaments. And when turned, the fabric reveals its story, two lovers frozen in a pastoral dream. Layering the pieces together, I began shaping something both nostalgic and new, soft relics of affection to drape through the home. This project felt intentionally slow, almost meditative, an antidote to the rush of modern life. Hand-stitching one tiny seam at a time, grounding the hands and quieting the mind. I filled them just enough to feel plush and sculptural, reminiscent of antique French decorative ornaments. The tassels add a gentle weight and movement, details that feel almost couture in miniature. And a velvet bow, of course, because romance is always in the finishing touches. A garland of hearts, handmade, imperfect, and utterly personal. Satin ribbon, liquid color, catching light like silk brushstrokes across the glass. Tying bows feels like choreography. Each movement deliberate, each loop a quiet gesture of devotion. I love the poetry of beautiful disorder. Romance rarely arranges itself neatly. Beloved, we have endured another trip around the sun, and in that slow orbit we have left quiet marks upon the world. We gathered light, music, fabric, porcelain, and petals, and shaped them into small still lives of domesticity. You gathered those scenes and turned them into memory, stitched into motion, preserved in time. Creation has become a shared ritual and love language, a way of seizing what would otherwise slip past unnoticed. Not to claim permanence, but to notice that we existed, that we saw, felt, and shaped tenderness out of passing hours. And somehow, our days become a soft diary, written not in ink, but in light. These films are not monuments. They're vestiges, like pressed flowers tucked between the pages of our life, dear, fragile proofs that we were here. They may fade and disintegrate, but for now they carry a fragment of us, a rhythm of days, a way of perceiving, a quiet invitation to linger a little longer in beauty. And if someone somewhere pauses, feels a softening, a moment of wonder, then something of our orbit has touched theirs, and that is enough. The fireplace becomes a stage where florals, light, and memory perform. Crystal garlands, reused from Christmas, now transformed, proof that beauty can be layered through time. I shaped them into gentle spirals, letting them cascade like frozen light. Candles anchor the composition, classical symmetry softened by romantic asymmetry. A tableau begins to emerge. Satin bows soften the formality, couture touches for an architectural vignette. A strand of crystal beads becomes a stage for something more personal. Lady of the Manor watches quietly, a silent muse to every season of styling. Hand-sewn hearts made slowly, stitched with intention, now woven into the architecture of the room. I wanted them to feel like heirlooms suspended in time. Each one a quiet token of affection. Together they form a garland, romance stitched into crystal and porcelain. Even everyday objects deserve a ceremonial touch. Above, the chandelier becomes a dancer, dressed in satin, catching the light like a silk skirt in motion. The coffee table becomes its own still life, porcelain, glass, and a gentle candlelight. French macarons, tiny pastel confections arranged like petals of a flower, meant to be admired before it disappears. Each vignette becomes a chapter in a living still life. By the window, I wanted something playful. Cupid reimagined with a modern wink, sending a kiss across centuries. Soft roses echo his blush heart, catching the daylight like petals brushed with dawn. At the center, a winged victory, an allegory of grace and triumph, balancing Cupid's sweetness with something timeless and sculptural. A warm brass lamp and a deep burgundy bow add a note of depth, like a shadow in a painting. For the table, I invited myth into the room. 2 Florentine Putti suspended in play, guardians of music and celebration. Their instruments echo the quiet choreography of the day, viola and mandola, a duet above the table. Crystal vines return again, threading light from mantel to table, stitching the room into one continuous composition. I shape them like frozen tendrils of light. Roses weave through crystal, softness meeting structure, nature entwined with ornament. The garland becomes a living ribbon of bloom and sparkle. Antique brass cherub candle holders return from last year, ritual objects carried forward like cherished traditions. With flame, the table awakens. Golden laurel, symbols of love, Victorian poetry, arrive like crowns for each place setting. Scalloped porcelain adds a classical softness, like lace carved in ceramic. And a whisper of bisous, little kisses layered onto each setting. Gold flatware completes the ritual. Gold-rimmed goblets catch the candlelight, ready for an evening of quiet indulgence. A table is never just a table. It is an invitation, a story, a living still life meant to be experienced. Happy Valentine's Day. If you enjoyed this content, please make sure to watch last year's opulent floral Baroque-inspired Valentine's Day, linked in the description below.